All right, we just had one of our first IPOs of the year, and the price action was impressive. Chinese IPO. The stock opens at 10. By the end of the day, it hit a low of under $2 a share. That's an 80% drop in one day. This is not good. All right, so what happened with this stock? Well, the company did an initial public offering. They sold about 2.5 million shares onto the market. An insider was selling about 650,000 shares. So that person's cashing out, cha-ching. And then the company sold an additional like 1.9 million shares or so to basically just to raise capital for the company. The problem is what we keep seeing happen is these Chinese companies are coming to the public markets in the US where I feel like US traders and US investors are dumb. I'm going to be honest. You know what it is? It's like how an unattractive man in the UK can come to the US and they're attractive because the accent. It changes everything, right? Okay, it's the same thing that's happening with these Chinese companies that are IPOing in the US market. They're not, most of them are not attractive companies. They're not very good, but US investors are like, oh, it's Chinese. And, you know, there's been this hype on Chinese stocks and all of a sudden they get bid up to crazy levels. So this company IPO'd at $10 a share. Now, the balance sheet, if you looked at the financials, you'd see they're not good. Now, that's true with a lot of small cap companies, though. And some of them still go higher because people speculate what they'll be worth in a few years. So ultimately, I don't read too deeply into, you know, the balance sheet and the financials because they can be bad, but a company can continue to see its stock price go up. But specifically with these Chinese stocks, one of the things that we have noticed is that a number of them have IPO'd, a number of them have sold off. They almost all sell off about 80% at some point. The problem is some of them go from $10 to 20 to 40 to 60 to 80 to 100 to 150 all the way to 500 before selling off. How does a company go to $500 a share, especially these low float companies? Well, the float is very important here. It's because the float for a lot of these companies is locked up. There are a very small handful of people that control the majority of the shares. And, you know, I'm going to speculate here, but what I speculate is that there's some funny business going on with some of these stocks. Everyone's been talking about it for a long time. So when you have a very small percentage of people that control the float, and when they own shares at pennies per share, then if they want to employ a little bit of capital to bid up the stock to buy more, you know, it's like they're already in at 1 penny, let's just say with 1 million shares. So that let's say they'll say, you know what, let's buy 200,000 shares at $10 a share, whatever it is. So they buy a couple 100,000 shares. If that 200,000 shares of market orders, that could send a stock like some of these that are very thinly traded with a very, very small float, that sends it from 20 to 30 to 40. And then next thing you know, you've got more traders jumping on the momentum because there's opportunity. And so what we had happen on this stock, Roma, just as the latest example, I don't know the structure of who owns the majority of the shares or anything like that. It's always speculative because we ultimately don't know a lot of the information that would give us more conviction and understanding why this could happen. I will say that there were shares available to short on this, which is not super common for day one of an IPO. Usually day one does not have shares available to trade, but this did. So it first opens at 10 and just halts down. Then it opens and halts up once, twice, hits a high of just under 12, and then sells off to 8. Rallies back up a little bit, and then hits VWAP and just starts rolling over. Comes back up again, halts up, opens lower, rolls over again. And after hours, well, this hit a low of about $1.86. So this was a really serious sell-off. This was not pretty. I didn't trade it. My rule of thumb right now is to, you know, get in, get green, get out, and not overstay my welcome. So I didn't trade this. I didn't even IPO, and well, I guess I IPO'd at about 10:45. So it was just after I left yesterday. So no trades on it for me. But, you know, the thing is, these Chinese stocks, you know, there can be a lot of potential in them. We had ZJYL back on the scans today. Let me pull it up. ZJYL, oops, I typoed that. ZJYL, this is another Chinese IPO, somewhat recent. And this thing went from, $25 a share to 500, right? And clearly there was opportunity in that. It's just, I guess, how do you manage your risk as a retail trader? What I think is frustrating is the way that the US market is kind of being used just for these companies to cash out. And most of them, we end up seeing their stock price decline substantially following, these peaks. HKD last year was a really big one. This one hit a high. What was the high on this one? It was like $2,000 a share. It was insane. So this went to the moon. It's now at $4. So it's down 99%, right? In terms of year over year or whatever from that peak. And that's kind of the problem, is we keep seeing these stocks are making big moves, but they don't hold up. So as a retail trader, as an active trader, you can't get married to any of them. You can trade them as you'd like. You can get in, get out, get in, get out, but you have to cut your losses very quickly. Do not overstay your welcome on these, and be really careful shorting them, because with such a small float and with it potentially being controlled by a small group of people that are in heavy, these stocks can get pushed around, and all of a sudden in one day they can drop 80%, or they can go up 80 or 100%. It doesn't have to be on news. So trade with the trend, but be very cautious trading against the trend, and be very cautious holding as it's moving against you. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to begin this recap by talking about that price action yesterday on Roma, because it was just ridiculous. I mean, honestly, I was kind of like, I wonder how it'll do, but I didn't expect anything exciting. Day one has not been the day I usually do well on IPOs. I do a little bit better on the recent IPO breakout, so like a little bit later when it curls back up. So I wasn't really interested in trading it that much on day one anyways, but it still was tough to watch. So today is a red day for me. I'm down $1,200, $1,299. And, I gave today a rating of a 2 early on. It just was not happening. It was really, really choppy. My first trade of the day was on NVNI, and I lost $500 on it. That was pre-market at about 7 a.m. So at 7 a.m., NVNI pops up. It was the leading gapper at the time. It had a pre-market high of a little over $4. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. You've got this nice pre-market high here. We'd pull back. We were consolidating right above VWAP. And so I actually got in at about 350. So right in here, I got in. It was inside one of these 1-minute candles for the dip, and I was looking for the curl through 365, and then 75, 85, $4, etc. Anyways, didn't work. Lost $500 on it. Not the end of the world. Just whatever. Started the day in the red, $400. I wouldn't consider that trade a mistake. I wouldn't consider it necessarily a bad trade. I kept my risk tight. It's just a trade that didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? That I'm not really sure. The float was pretty low. The stock is a somewhat recent IPO. I thought that this had a bit more potential in it. I really did. I was sort of surprised that it stalled out the way it did, but it became very thickly traded pretty fast. So sellers were quick to sell and short, and there weren't enough buyers feeling confident to trade it. So it didn't, I guess, go higher. I don't know. Maybe there was some insider selling. I'm not sure. So then CMND comes up on the scans, and that becomes the leading gapper. So when it became the leading gapper, I switched my focus to CMND. And on my first trade, I made $500 on it. Let's see. My first trade was right here, getting in. It popped up, pulled back, and as it came back through the high, I took my first trade right here at around 260 or 250. Got to squeeze up to 310. Only made 500 on it, smaller share size. Ends up pulling back, false breakout, a little bit of chop, kind of goes sideways. And then I didn't get back in through this area, sort of grinding. I was like, I don't know, I don't really like this. It became thickly traded as well. But at this flat top, I took this trade. So I got in right here, and that's where I made the 1500, the additional 1500 that put me up about 2000 on the day on it. So up just under 2000 on the day on this one. And then I took this trade on bets, and I went from up 2000 or up 1500 on the day to down about 1500 on the day. So bets, you know, this one, people have been talking about this because it was a penny stock, super, super cheap. And then they just did a 1,000 to 1 reverse split, which is insane. It's really kind of crazy. So they did this huge split, and it pops here from 7 all the way up to 9, as you can see. So as it's popping up, I'm like, whoa, obviously huge move. This is impressive. You know, I'm gonna jump in. So I jumped in at $8.50 at the $0.50 with 1,000 shares, not even big size. It goes to 9, and then it flushes down here to like 13. I was like, whoa. I averaged down on it. I had another 1,000. It goes sideways here for a second, and I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna curl back up? Nope. We dropped back down right here, and I had to sell. I lost $2,000 on that. I tried to get back in right here, coming back up over 8, and I lost on it again. And I actually had 3 trades on it in my big account. I think I might have had a trade here as well. All 3 were losers. So I lost 2,000 or so on the first, and then like 150 and 150. Small losses on the second 2 trades. But at that point, I was like, all right, 3 red trades on this stock. Man, it is not happening for me. I'm going to just call it done on that stock. So that was the right move. But anyways, I did chase it. I got in at a $0.50. At the same time, these are the types of stocks that can make big moves. So, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. I should have probably waited for a more defined pullback. But had just made this big leap. And sometimes when that happens, that's when we see stocks go from, 7 to 8 to 10 to 12 to 14, and it's like parabolic. And the best way to trade those for me has been getting in around $0.50 and whole dollars. So anyways, I do not want to get married to the stock. I cut the loss, I move on. So whatever, down $2,000, it's no big deal. So that put me down 800 on the day. And then on my final trade, I took a trade on UK. It was hitting the scanner, coming back up right here. I took the trade for the break through the high. I was green on it, but then it flushes back down, and I sold for a $500 loss. High volume on 2 red candles on that one. Not good. Interestingly, we did have some momentum on sort of higher float stocks. 106 million share float on this one, grinding quite a bit higher. Some solid price action, but I was like, I don't know. It's easy to borrow. It's on short sale restriction. I don't know. I'm already red on the day. I don't know if I should go outside my wheelhouse and trade this. Same story on SATS. SATS, higher price, a slightly higher float, easy to borrow. It goes from 12 to 18. A nice move, but I was like, I don't know. I don't have a cushion to kind of take a risk on this price stock. So, this is my first red day for 2024. And I was kind of hoping sometime between, so I was down 800 going into the open, and I was like, okay, I'm going to hold here. And I was thinking, well, maybe at some point, at least I think it was by 9:30. And then, I was like, all right, well, let's just see. I was red 200 yesterday at the open, and then I finished the day up 1,000 or whatever. So I was like, let's just see what happens. Maybe there'll be some opportunities. Got that one trade on UK, lost another 400, so now I'm down 1,200. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of moving in the wrong direction. I hit a high of 1,500 green. Now I'm 1,200 red. Where should I stop? I'm not at my max loss, so I certainly could keep trading, but should I keep trading? So I rated today as a 2 early on. I was like, yes, we have some low float stocks that are moving, CMND, NVNI, or whatever it was. So yeah, but they're not great. They're kind of grinding. I'm not really up that much. I'm not feeling it. So today feels like a 2. Again, it's kind of a slow day. Bets came up. Yes, it made a big move if you were in early, and some people were. There was some great opportunity, but very small window, and then it kind of faded. So that didn't that sort of reaffirmed that we were only at a 2. And so is today the day that I should try to dig deep and trade until like 4 p.m.? No, it's not. It's really not. So I'm down 1,200, on a day when it's hot. I'll make that in half a second on a good trade. You know what I mean? Like, I really have to just say this, I just have to put this aside and not get fixated on trying to make today a green day. What I have to do is be okay with the fact that today is coming up short, live with it, accept it fully, that that's part of the system, and come back continuing to follow the same rules tomorrow. And look, tomorrow we could have a stock that's top gapper that goes up 3, 4, 500%, and I could make 15 grand. And then, yeah, like the 1200, who cares? It's totally water under the bridge. But if I keep trading today and I go down 2500, 3500, 4500, 5500, 7500, 8,000, 10,000, then it's like, wow, I dug myself a really deep hole on a day that at best, how much opportunity did it really offer? You know what I mean? Like, I want to push it on days where if I push it, I could have a record-breaking day. I don't see anything right now that could give me that kind of day. Now, record-breaking, maybe not in the whole career, but, you know, maybe just for the last like few months or something. And I just don't see anything today that gives me that. So, you know, yes, I could try to focus on base hits, but, you know, UK was only supposed to be a base hit, and I still lost 500 on it. And, you know, those second 2 trades on bets were only looking for base hits, and I lost, you know, a couple hundred on those too. So it's easy to say, oh, it's not that hard to make $1,200, but, you know, it is. And I could incur a number of losses trying to do it. So this is the fork in the road where I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to walk away today. I'm going to just live with being red, not get bent out of shape over it. I'm still green on the week. It's not a big deal. Green on the month, of course. It's like, let's just keep the loss really small. And hey, it's the first loss of 2024. Lose gracefully on it and come back tomorrow. And since I didn't spiral, I'm not going to be emotionally fueled, because that's one of my big goals for this year, is to not have those days where I spiral. And, you know, any day you go from green to red, it starts to unravel. Now, it happened really quick today on one trade, and then I took basically 3 more and went from minus 800 to minus 1200. So now I'm kind of capitulating. So, all right, let's stop right here before I double the loss to negative 1600, or, you know, quadruple it to negative 3200. It's just not the day to push that hard. So my solution for this is just simply to shut down my platform. So I'm going to close this down 1200. Red. Look, also, you can see I'm red on 4 out of the 5 stocks I traded. I forgot to mention LAES. This one I got in off the scanner at like $2, and it was another rejection. So yeah, just kind of like rejection after rejection after rejection. You know, yes, our stock's hitting scans right now, sure, but they're on very light volume. You can't trade that. AMPE, you know, it's just not really moving that much. It's very choppy. And even on SANA, something I noticed on this were some pegged sell orders, some pegged sellers. So the way that works is, oops, sorry, wrong camera. So the order is at the ask, and it stays at the ask. So if someone drops the ask down, the order moves automatically. And so what happens is, it was like a 60,000 share sell order, and all of a sudden it's like, it's just, it sits on the ask and it just moves. Every time the ask moves down, it's automatically moving. So it feels like someone's like pushing it down with that big order. They're just pressing it right down. So seeing those kind of orders, I was just like, no, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm not gonna touch that. All right, so that's my that's gonna be leading with some discipline today, closing it down, and I don't want to look at charts or stocks or think about the market for the rest of the day. So I'll be back at it tomorrow, clean, fresh, ready to have a good day, hopefully, trading the market that's right in front of me. So today I was trading in a market that was like a 2, and yeah, I went red. But look, if you call it as a 2 at the beginning of the day, don't make that the biggest red day of the year. If you're going to have a big red day, have it on a day where if things worked, you have the potential to have one of the biggest green days of the year. That's the day to take that level of risk. All right, reminder as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, and there's no guarantee you'll find success. Whether you trade with me or you learn on your own. So take it slow, manage your risk by practicing in a simulator before you put real money on the line, and don't try to blindly follow me or anyone else. Okay, I'll see you for my recap tomorrow.